All right, hi, everybody. Welcome to our planning and zoning work meeting and general plan meeting with Kevin Smedley. We're so glad to have him here. And we're just gonna let him take it away. Oh, yeah, Brendan.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, I guess. Based on the last time we were here, I put together a very rough idea of some plan or some questions you could ask. And what I'd just like to do is just jump right in, both of these with the community survey was, and I put some on the table in front of you, right there, we want for each of you, is to just jump right in, and get a response from you on these questions and see if you have any heartburn, any suggestions for change, things you want to add. This is just, kind of putting it in Virgin's terms from my perspective, but that's my perspective. Okay. So, the first question is, how strong is the sense of community in Virgin? So, what we want to ask, that was kind of brought up a bit.
Well, how does that relate to the general plan?
You can address things on creating a sense of community in the general plan, so part of the general plan is to create a vision for the community. And even though there is a vision statement, that usually is looked at each time the general plan is updated to see if it's up to what we want to have. So, and I'm not, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you say this is the terrible question, because I've been doing this a long time and I have it's just the way things happen, so don't feel bad about saying, you know, Kevin, you did a bad job on this one. I don't.
You're not easily offended.
No. Okay. And then on that one, I put just the range of 0 to 10. So you can kind of get a feel, or you can just say, you could ask a question like, do you feel there is a sense of community, and ask just a yes or no?
I like that.
So however you would like to ask, or you don't have to ask.
I think it's a good question, actually.
The first one, okay, and then there's a follow-up below that of what ideas do you have to help create a strong sense of community? So that's where you can get some written input. It's not just a check the box or circle something, so. Then the next question would be, what ideas do you have for better connecting the community on both sides of Highway 9? That was brought up at your last meeting.
I like that.
I'd like to hear the answer to that. Okay. This may be
Socially.
how people view it.
We can make two questions if we want to say how to connect the community or how to get it off, but you can be specific, but
It
I like
can be
this general topic, yeah.
It can be reworded, if you would like to address specifically.
No, is our goal to get a draft of questions, or we're just kind of going on this generate ideas?
Yeah, we're trying to narrow down the questions that you would like to ask in the community
Okay,
survey
so
as part of the update.
you'll take us through these and then we can maybe have shoot ideas.
Or if you have ideas along the way, just shoot it, because I'll think.
Would it be helpful, there's 5 elements to a general plan. And doing them by section. So we can ask questions that pertain to transportation or circulation, or whatever you want to call it, land use.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. And I was even thinking that because there's 5 of us, that we could even think a topic and develop the question.
So what if we have 6 though, so we have a general at the first, one like how strong is the community?
I think this is a great, starting off point, but I would like to see much more specificity in regard to, land use, for instance, you know, lower density. Do you prefer lower density, high, do you want to see higher density? Duplex, triplex, apartment buildings, You
I
know,
like that.
You can ask those questions.
right.
There's actually 6 sections.
Oh, look at my.
There can be as many sections as you want.
Right.
For your community, there are 3 required sections.
That's right, I was gonna say.
So there's land use, transportation and circulation, and water.
Would that be environmental?
You could be addressed under environment.
Okay.
I do think we should get ahead of things though with what you're talking about to have them. I think we should ask questions and I think we should go a little ahead of what we have to do.
Yeah, just, give me your feedback. It's
Okay,
okay.
so I agree with her. I think we should do more specific questions and I like the categories myself. I think we should have a general, like a general question, so we can ask the community, sense of community questions, have the general ones, you know, we've got, how great the quality of life, so I think I had 2 or 3 questions there, just to get a feel for how people feel about living here. And then I think we should break it into sections after that.
Yeah, demographics in a general plan.
Yes, and I brought some examples of demographics, and so those are generally included as an appendices because they're changing, right? And, but it helps inform your decisions. I mean, if you look at that first page there, there's a graph on there showing there's a lot of growth been going on there. And, you know, so there's different things you can look at. So, yeah.
So maybe we need to have you walk us through what you're gonna show us about our plan, about the general plan first, before, at least I have to do big picture first, I have to know what we're doing before I can ask the right questions.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So what I brought with me, and then you just direct me how you want to go about it. So what I brought is I brought examples of the questions. And then I brought a set of displays that could be put up at the open house. Some of them are educational and some of them are designed to ask questions. And this is just a very rough draft, so you can change it however you want. So if you want to unclip those or however you want, and we'll just look through them. So the first 2 are just the demographics. So it goes over, population, housing, goes over, work. And there was a question brought up earlier about these numbers seem fishy, and they are fishy because they're estimates. The Census Bureau does a great job every 10 years of counting, but those numbers don't come out for a few years. So, but every year they update their estimates. And whatever formula they have will not be accurate. It will be a guess, a good guess in some instances. In other instances, it may be showing a housing or a housing type that you're not even aware of in your community. But it's showing that there's however many. So that's that. It's just, and that's part of why it's included, but I wouldn't put a ton of weight on that. It's to show you trends.
So I was gonna ask, is it useful to collect information about who actually lives in our town? Is that useful, are those useful questions or is that extra?
You can ask that. It's a lot of work to go through that data if you're trying to get a real specificity of data. And I don't know what the benefit in the long run would be.
The other thing I can think is, it would be interesting generally to know how many young families we have versus, I don't think it needs to be super specific, but I do wonder if we wanna know.
Oh, yeah, and those questions that were asked in Paraguna that I gave you were those types of questions, where they were like, here's the ranges, do you have a family with children, how many are?
Okay,
Those certainly can be included. I didn't include any of those
yeah,
in these examples. But yes, they can certainly be included.
okay.
So then, the next one you have, let me turn my notes. Is it just an education slide on what a community vision is? Because a lot of people don't know what it is. And then the one after that is actually your vision statement. And I just copied the question that one of the other towns asked at the very top.
Mm,
So that's just their question in your terms. Asking, input on on your vision statement if there needs to be changes to it. Then the next one is an informational slide of just talking about economic development. And a bunch of these are going to be that. Economic development just explains about it. The next one is a general one about housing. And the demand for housing in the state, trying to give people an idea of why our prices going up, why are people moving here, and that sort of thing. Then there's the rising generation study, and there's been a lot done on this because, and then, let me just say, a lot of these studies, especially stuff like this, are done in a more urban environment, so they may not apply here. But it's the general, feel of the rising generations. They don't want to be tied down as much. They want to be able to live in their travel van and go have adventures. So they want to be able to leave an apartment behind, not a house that they have to take care of, at least at a young stage in their life. At some point, especially in Utah, people generally tend to go, okay, now it's time to settle down. I want to have a family, so I want to have a yard. So that's just that kind of information. The next one after that is the preserving rural. This is a big issue, and especially communities where there's a lot of ag. Panguitch, Escalante, even if you go if you've been to Pine Valley, when you drive into Pine Valley, there's this huge meadow, and that's what brings the feel of rural, right? It's not a little, you see the houses, but you don't see, it's not built, it doesn't fit, once it fills the valley, and that loses the feel. And that's the same with Panguitch. Once the area surrounding Panguitch is filled up with homes, it's no longer as rural. So, and that addresses density questions. You want to be more dense in your community, or do you want to create a situation where you're more spreading out? And then the last one is just an example of the ethics process, just that could be displayed everywhere. So, and these are just examples to give you some ideas. We can develop slides for any of the questions you want to ask, any of the information you want to display that just property assistance. So, based on that, a lot of communities have used some of these, some have used all of them. And you're welcome to do whatever fits you, and we can develop some slides for anything that you want to address. If you want to address the history, I was just down for a meeting taking pictures of where the Sheep Bridge used to be. I had my history book. So I found an old picture of the sheep crossing there. And I was like, oh, I want to see that with my own eyes. So I was just down there doing that. Found one of the anchors where they secured the bridge.
Oh, that's cool. I'll send you a picture of the Butch Cassidy house that just went down. I'll flash the picture I have.
It just went down.
Oh, in ground.
No, the one right here.
I don't know, trying to see it.
Well, it got too many termite, started growing in. Anyway, okay, so,
So we were gonna shoot for doing an open house early in the summer. That was kind of, so I'm just bringing stuff that would help us prepare for the open house.
So the open house, are you talking about having easels that have a statement?
Something like these.
And then somebody standing by to answer questions if.
Yeah,
Sure. We're taking notes or.
Yeah, or just saying, hey, fill out your survey, put down, or taking notes, both.
so Val, what 5, categories for questions, jumping back, of course? What do you?
Well, I just thought the whatever categories we decide to do, I like the setup of that in the survey. So, you know, you have the heading, obviously, and then the supporting questions. I've been looking at different towns across the country and what they've done with their surveys, and, this one has a question, what top 3 things do you love about it? We would say Virgin, and then they have a big list about, you know, the rural atmosphere, scenic vistas, so that would be, I guess what I'm getting at is I don't know that every question has to be 1 through 10
No.
response. I also like the idea of very important, important, not so important, not important, you know, for some questions. I know we can,
Yeah, it's your survey, I mean,
Right.
So, you know, what would you say the top, what, you know, just had to pick out of the sky, give us the 5 most important sections, if we're gonna do it that way. Give us
well,
the
by
5.
state law, you're required to do land use, okay? And then the next section is transportation, circulation,
Mhm.
water. One that is always a key thing, and I think it's addressed, at least generally in your plan, is housing.
Mhm.
And then, economic development is usually one that communities want to address unless they just don't want, like Paragon doesn't want to address.
land, I've actually starred everything. so I
And what
think we
about,
should
and then
put it all in.
like, maybe we want parks and.
That would be, I think, under environmental, yes, or land,
No.
land use.
It depends, parks and recreation, I've seen it just handled by itself,
That's what I was.
and then I've seen, environment included with the general environment of the whole area. Usually, and also there's public services and facilities that are often addressed. So there's actually, most communities have at least 5 or 6 or more that they. So, yeah, there's no limit. If there's any topic you want,
I think that our survey, the initial question should address the vision statement, the general one, that would sort of go to vision statement. So,
I also like the question, how long have you lived in Virgin?
okay?
okay, so let's,
How long do you intend to live in Virgin?
okay, good,
But I don't know whether we should be getting so bogged down with the question part.
well,
If
do
we
you want
wanna
to
look at the open house, if you wanna,
well, we need the survey first, that's the first thing we need to put out.
we do?
I think.
Well, usually the open house is part of the survey is part of it.
Yes, but I don't think we have to have this
So we're
survey
not
that we're gonna.
shooting to put it in the newsletter yet, we were gonna try to get it in sooner, but we'll let you know open house.
Well, didn't we say we were gonna have more than one open house?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so I'm thinking an open house first,
Okay.
working on the questions simultaneously. And then maybe at the second open house, the survey could be.
Or we do it, okay.
A question, comment on this issue. We certainly want to reach as many citizens as we can. And maybe a couple of different ways would be, something in the newsletter, attached to the newsletter for those that weren't able to come to the open house. And then at the open house, I see the survey as something to me effective also. In that, there can be places or tables or so what for people to sit at or stand at and answer these right while they're there and get it done, rather than mailing it out and half the people send it in, half the people don't. Maybe you'd be comfortable getting 40%, 30%, as a high number, but I think that we want to approach a couple of different ways to so that nobody feels like I never had a chance.
Good, yes, I agree. Okay. Tell us what to do.
So it sounds to me like you would like to move forward with getting this community involved and then and I'm hearing a couple different messages. I'm hearing,
Now we're gonna work that, we're.
so this is a decision for you. Do you want to have an ongoing survey? You want to have it an initial survey and then tailor questions from that for the second survey.
I
I'm kind of
think
hearing
we should
something.
a survey, but you're talking about kind of a comprehensive survey, I don't want to do it twice, let's do one. And let's have it ready, I think we can. See, it sounded like you were suggesting that we all take a section and get those questions ready, and then have them ready and send them to him, is that what you're saying?
Well, two, you know, we can pass them around if anyone wants to add something or
You know,
subtract something.
we have a couple of meetings coming up where we'll be in meetings that we can maybe exchange our,
But if we're talking about a June open house, that's pretty quick for getting a survey together, I think, especially if we want to do a comprehensive one.
you know?
I,
So she,
I'd like to build on that. I like the idea of having an initial open house and no survey.
okay,
I think we should go ahead and start making a survey and then refine it based on feedback we get at the open house.
okay,
I also would love it if we could, everybody put their ideas into a folder on SharePoint, even if it's just one doc, so that I could see the things you found, or just, if we could drop things in that common folder, so we all have. We don't have to wait for a meeting to be reading up on stuff.
no, you know,
I lost my train of thought, I did.
So we will need to, won't we? We'll need to know what our categories, I mean, if we're gonna do visuals, if the open house is going to be, you know, set up to help people understand, we've gotta have a pretty good understanding of our, how we want to plan to look as far as sections, and at least a general idea of the kind of information we're gonna get, or we're gonna have nothing to offer. We don't want to just have a company, well, we're gonna start a general plan, aren't you happy?
Well, that might be where the newsletter comes in to explain what a general plan is, how we're going about this, because there's people in who know nothing, they know
Yes.
nothing.
I know, so what it is, and
Right, why we're doing
this,
this,
but we'll need to say, these are the things we're going to decide in our general plan, so let's make sure
So,
we're.
yeah, I agree that categories would be the thing. I would start by looking at the ones we currently have. I know I found a 2018 general plan archived
Yes.
on Utah.
We sure did, we sure did.
And I have that available for everyone to see.
I have it as well, if you want.
And they're the same
Oh,
6 categories.
Yeah.
Are those good enough? Do we want to add, do we want to modify?
So these are the categories that are in the current general plan. Environmental element, a land use element, housing element, a circulation element, an economic element, and an infrastructure. So, and the way it's structured, there's each section is currently laid out, just laying out the current conditions, what is desired, integration, which is basically goals. And then, yeah, those are just a list of goals for each of the elements. So the current conditions, which is usually can be accomplished in a paragraph or two. And then, the desire, laying out the groundwork of the policies and the goals and policies, writing out why you're setting these goals and policies and then
Kevin, what was, item 3 on the category?
it is housing. Yeah, housing element.
I'd also like to see after every question, that is a graph or however we decide to do that, a space to say, like, what are we missing? What what ideas do you have that would help us achieve, to achieve the town's goals?
Yeah, I think so, I think we've gotta be careful, because you know how we get to the end of a survey and they're like, tell us everything else you want us to know, and you're like, ugh.
But that's why I think after every question, because it's right on your mind, it's right on the forefront, so you just answered the question, and now we're
So
giving you
just like
space
a
to
suggestion line,
Or just a
ask
comment.
the question, what what are we missing? What ideas do you have to further our goals? I mean, and then they have a space to
Or, yeah.
write in whatever,
What are
because,
your feelings on this?
Would you do a comment line, just like, as a living instruction, just say, hey, there'll be a comment line after every question?
sure, I don't know that people will need an instruction for
Well, I
that.
don't know, but I just, mean, I don't want, just to make it, rather than saying, every time, how do you feel about that?
Right,
Okay.
that's not my question, though. It wouldn't be how do you feel about that,
It
it's
would be,
what are we missing? What are we missing?
What can you add to the
Right.
conversation?
Right,
and now I wanna know who's gonna compile this, we're gonna appoint the compiler right now. Kidding, I'm joking, they'll all do it together, I'm just.
yeah, that's good. Darlene and I.
But it'll be in it'll be on SharePoint.
Right,
I think everybody is good with
right.
accessing now.
So you guys are actually volunteering to compile this, I am such a happy girl right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay,
So Kevin,
and you guys design the motion, the new one, that was great.
on the general plan,
Yes.
is what we'd love to see our town look like in the future. And we know we have some infrastructure issues that are going to prevent a lot of the things we'd like to see in the future. Do we still make a general plan, hoping that one day the water issue is resolved and the sewer issue is resolved and show a high density housing section that we know we can't do without water?
You can, yes, and you can include stuff that you want as a community. And in fact, that's what funding agencies look for. So if, for example, you mentioned sewer, if the state suddenly, or some other agency was saying, we have all this funding available for community sewers, and you wanted to go after it, if your general plan already says at such a time as we, however we lay it out, that you have that goal of having sewer systems.
It's a wish list.
And that's just, yeah.
Right.
It's a wish list.
But my fear is if we have a general plan that shows high density housing in this section of town, and some developer buys that and says, I want this over high density housing because you said this is where you want it.
So
We
we
can't provide it.
Well, it's the conditions, of when we want to bring it, what conditions we
Because
get before we bring it. We set the parameters, and that's the point, the flow of development, we're gonna set that, it's not just like we put it on a piece of paper and we can have it, it's a matter of, okay, we're gonna adopt this kind of high density housing at this point, where our development reaches these benchmarks.
I think we have to decide who we want that.
Yeah, and if you do want that, and if
Right,
you
but if
have.
that's the community says we need more affordable housing, to say, okay, bring the strong end over here. But we can't, currently, there's no way we can provide for that. Is it just a pie in the sky, or do
No,
you?
you can.
You can also include it as, a policy where you're saying, if this becomes available, before we include an area for high density, we would amend the plan to include that before we would allow development of higher density. That, you can include policies like that.
It just, in the text of the general plan, and say this is what we like,
Right.
but if we actually have a general plan map, not actually identify an area for it until. Right, infrastructure.
But you can ask that question on the survey, where would you like to see affordable housing, where would you like to see?
Is what I-
And it's measured, that's right, but to have a plan for how to do it when we have to, or if we have to.
So, yeah, if it's mentioned in the general plan and your eligible funding, then we definitely will.
Yeah, but we don't have, we have to shove it down our throats, the whole point of the general plan is that it gives, especially with some of the laws that are happening, it gives, right, gives a little bit more, well, give us the ability to plan and develop, the way we want.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah. Just so you know, and this is aside from the general plan, the legislature is addressing the demand for housing through providing funding for infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to be happening for a while. Unless they decide, well, this isn't working and they go a different direction. But, yeah, so you can include whatever you'd like to the extent you like. You don't have to necessarily lay it out on a map. For example, for the transportation element, you may not know, you may not know where you want the roads to go. Because a grid is the most efficient way to get around town, right? But you also have topography issues, you also have washes, you have those sorts of things. And so you can address that through policy in your plan, saying that these are the things that will need to be addressed when a developer comes in and wants to develop an alignment for a road. So those things can be included without actually drawing the line on the map. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because those lines on the map are very controversial.
They are. Especially when they go across someone's property.
Yes.
Oh,
Through the house.
yeah, they got everything through my house. Everything.
Is a zoning, map also part of the general plan?
It can either be included or by reference, either way. Some communities use the zoning map as their general. Because they're so small on there that they don't want to change, but yeah, you can include it.
Is it
Or you don't have to,
typical to have a general plan map or?
yeah,
Yes.
and, I can't remember if there's maps in your plan.
No,
There's not.
At least not,
it was not a.
Yeah.
So, yeah, generally, they include at least a general plan map, which gives a broad look at things, rather than saying it's a density that's specific categories, you use a range type thing. Sometimes, it just depends on what you want to include. And you can include other maps, some communities have included other infrastructure maps and stuff like that, which, like if it's parks and trails, that's great. But I would encourage you not to include, which some communities have in the past, water and sewer systems, because that's a security issue. In the day and age we live in, so we don't want to put information out there that could be used.
Even water stuff, you don't want to put down.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like we're tossing the salad.
Yeah. a little
Okay.
bit, sorry.
So do you want to take assignments on which one you want to focus on? Are these the 6 elements you want to focus?
So I think.
And let me just say that before you decide, you don't have to be held to these. You can go, you know what, as we're looking at these questions, we don't really want to go here, we'd rather focus on. So, it's whatever you want.
Well, so I think we need to have, well, transportation, obviously, we've got to have that. We add to these. Is that what circulation we do? Let's change it. Circulation.
Traffic and circulation is the way the legislature calls it.
Okay, well, let's at least add traffic.
We can use transportation parenthetically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can look in that plan to see where those things are mentioned already to identify what category. I'd like to suggest a way to do this is like if we have on a document the categories. And as we come up with things, we simply go under and list them under that category. That way we all can, maybe one of us can be in charge of finalizing it. But everybody has an opportunity to add to it, because I always think more than one line is better.
I think that's a great idea.
When, we want to have this first hearing?
They'll-
You mean the open house? Do we want it in the afternoon, in the evening?
In June.
In June, I think in June,
Yeah.
June, maybe 3rd or 4th week in June.
And on the weekend or weekday,
Just from years of experience,
yes.
this is what I would suggest, that you do it on a weeknight, because a lot of people go away for the weekend, they don't have activities. And during a time when you're gonna catch people who are maybe on their way home from work, and they're gonna stop by and do this before they go home and are in for the night.
So it could be a span of hours. What is
Yeah.
a typical span on?
2 to 3 or 4 hours, just depending on.
So 5 to 8.
Probably
4 to
4
7.
hours would be.
Or
3 to 7.
3 to 7?
Oh, that's not, is that big enough for people?
3 to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
4 hours. For the initial, meeting, I think it might be too long.
I just mean, is 7 good enough?
You'll find if you give them a broad window,
They'll
they'll come at the beginning and they'll come at the end, and you'll be sitting there. So you wanna give them a window when they're gonna be naturally out moving about,
4 to 7?
and then, so that but not too long. If you say till 9, then some people will wait till 9. And they'll come in at 5 minutes to 9, and want to see everything.
I like 4 to 7.
And there's not typically a presentation, it's just the boards are up and somebody's near the board to answer questions about that specific topic and.
Typically, but you can have a presentation if you want periodically, you can have, like, just for people who know what's going on, they want to hear verbal information.
Yeah.
So the town's doing, stuff for the 4th of July, we wanna have things available for that. The 9th and the 3rd, they're doing something. You know, concert in the park or something, you wanna have it open and like the building is open, like the general plan stuff in it.
It's not bad.
Yes, go, let's do it. Absolutely.
Okay.
What about, what if we did it coinciding with the July? Yeah, is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Is that soon enough for everybody?
June one, I think, was a good idea, the July one. Yeah,
Okay.
so we're doing June, July, and then,
any earlier in June then? July 30th.
June, July, and see what happens.
I don't know, that's too much.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna be, since we're not really, it seems like we want time for questions, I'm worried about having. You're worried we're gonna get in there in June, we're gonna do it? Do you think we'll be able to get it?
With the survey, with the.
Well, I don't know, we'll fire up along in June, you guys call it, what do you wanna do?
I think June is where we have a rough, the categories. We have
Okay, when in
some
June?
things like
When in
this.
June, are you thinking? Yeah, okay,
I think that the first open house should just be, dip your toe in and see where people
so
are.
mid-June, what's the day?
Well, so, I don't know when these meetings are because I'm so confused at this point.
Oh,
Everything changes all-
Amen.
So, I'm thinking Thursday evening is probably a safe bet. Yes.
Thursday? Do we need to clerk for any of this? We don't, right? We don't think so. Yeah, okay, so we can, so Thursdays are good, so.
All right, so we have in June,
Wilbur's right. I'll call the clerk.
I believe let me look, there's a Thursday, we're not here. I can quickly look on my calendar.
so we have the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th.
I think 20.
20, okay. If that works with you, Crystal, that would be great.
How's that? No, wait, a minute, he has this on, what's your role in this? Do you have to be here? We
You want me here?
But we're just wondering if you can, if we don't have you.
The only Thursday you can't have meetings.
So that's two that, so.
Okay, so the 20th then.
And I think I'd love to have you here.
Yeah.
Any questions if we won't get answers. Forward.
Yeah, and it's certainly good to have someone here
Knows what they're doing.
that I can go.
Okay, so Thursday, June 20th, 4 to 7 p.m.
Yep, I like it.
Thursday, June 20th, 4 to 7 p.m. First general plan open house. Yeah,
This is getting exciting.
yeah, okay.
I like the idea of each one of us picking a category and try to become somewhat of an expert on it, so you can stand next to that board.
Okay, well, pick category.
I do, but I also like Darlene's suggestion of having the categories on SharePoint so we can add to each one.
I don't, yeah, well,
And that's good.
I'll go.
We have a transportation and circulation board up over here, somebody should stand next to that and talk about.
So what if we have, let's decide categories right now, and then let's say, whoever's in charge of the category, got to have 5 to 7 questions for their category to start us off. Yeah? We can have more, I'm just saying.
There'll be more.
I'm just saying.
I like circulation,
You want circulation, okay, Larry wants circulation, transportation, circulation,
yes.
okay,
Transportation, circulation,
okay, of Larry,
Can I have housing?
you can have housing, Val has housing. And
Have environment.
you can, I like that, you can. Darlene,
land use and infrastructure.
I'll take land,
We have economic.
Oh.
economic, oh, I can take that if you want, economic. And we're gonna have to double up here. I'll take economic and land use, who wants to take the general, the,
Infrastructure.
vision statement? The touchy feely one, maybe we'll let him do that.
I can do it. I can help out however you want me to.
Well,
Like, if you wanna have access to that.
So can we talk about the infrastructure category?
that's what, yeah, infrastructure, you want,
And so, yeah,
I am hesitant about that category as well, because do we need to include that?
So let me
you
just,
know why? Oh, go ahead.
let me just tell you what it, encompasses in the general plan. It encompasses the water system, drainage, and actually like it includes roads and transportation facility, which really is in the general plan, or in the transportation section. Wastewater, addresses. So, yeah,
So is this where we need to address who, our focus as far as who's paying for infrastructure, like is this a section where we say, as a town, we really feel like the development needs to be responsible for the infrastructure as it comes in, rather, and we don't want the burden of infrastructure for development to fall on the citizens, that we're gonna have such and such a, right, that's where this kind of stuff goes, you know?
Well, and I would think
Yeah,
that
fine.
wastewater should be included in environmental, water and sewer. So I'm just wondering if we need that.
Yeah, I would clarify because there was discussion about having the environmental include parks and recreation. Just make sure that all your bases are covered.
I think we should do environmental more with, sort of protection of the environment and parts of, you know, the outdoorsy thing, and then I think we really do need an infrastructure section, just because I think with everything I'm seeing.
Can I suggest a different name? if I
Yeah,
can
please.
clarify
Would you please?
what you really want to
Yes,
address,
thank you.
and that is public services.
That's right, okay, so not infrastructure, public services and facilities.
Right, because the service is the water, that sort of thing, and facilities is whatever, like your town hall. But if you're including, it can include parks, but if you're including that in your environmental, that's where you.
So I'm actually,
I think parks would fit better under public services and facilities. Environment, to me, if I look here, that would be a better place for drainage. Drainage issues, our soil issues,
So it's
our dark skies.
kind of a combination of infrastructure, environment. Certainly, we all know it's an issue. The drainage is a huge issue. Whether it's us or Rockville or Springdale, we're all dealing with dramatic drainage issues.
But if this title is changed from infrastructure to public services and facilities.
what do you think about, this seems like something he's gonna know, we could talk about it for 6 years. How about if you can hear what we're talking about, why don't you just give us a category?
No, I'm not gonna do
No,
that.
no, yes, you please.
So, under the environmental, let me just look at the environmental again, refresh my mind on what was included, because initially, if I remember right, that was addressing night skies, conservation of energy. It was addressing, rainfall, but from a arid landscape perspective. And just sensitive lands. And mostly surrounding the community or that you have within the community, like streamways or that sort of thing. So that was what it was focused on. But
In your experience, is that adequate, and then you put the other things like drainage, et cetera, in the public? What do you?
Yeah, public services and facilities would include anything that would come under a public works
Yeah.
function.
Okay. And put parks in there too, though, do you think?
Yeah, you can include it there if
That
you
sound
want.
good to you?
Under,
So in public services and facilities, we'll put
Yeah.
public works and parks, as you said, rather than in environmental, right? Now, where are you gonna put things like trails and access?
currently that's under land use. It might be under more than one too.
What's that?
It's
Which category?
circulation on the old, or
Right.
to mention there.
So transportation and trails and all of that access, that's
Yeah,
good.
basically, that's really-
Floodplain and drainage areas are also, listed under land use in our codes.
Yeah, so some things are under.
So we should not guide off our current plan too much, just because,
No, I'm not relying on it,
I see what you're saying.
right, but that's where they have it, so.
Okay.
And that could come into play, especially under land use where you have sensitive land. Marking it on the map that you don't want these areas disturbed,
Yeah,
or that they need to be, go through whatever level of review before they can be disturbed.
so land use, economic, circulation, housing, environment, and public services and facilities, and then also, does that sound right?
Vision.
And then a vision statement, I think, which would be in the introduction of it. Does that sound right? Say it again.
Can you read over who's doing? what?
So, yes, we've got, environment, we've got Ken, we've got, Val doing housing, which,
I'm
and
doing land use.
you're doing land use?
Yes, it's one of the few blanks left.
Okay, now I'm confused. Circulation with Larry,
Okay, you were,
and I'm economic, and I'm gonna I'll work with Helen, I'll be public services, just,
I think we should all do vision.
we'll all do vision,
But we can
Because
do that
every
in
category,
SharePoint.
that's, yeah, every category should match the vision.
yes, it should. Okay, that, is everybody clear?
And then, the new, the rename, the public. Facilities works. Who's doing that one?
I'm gonna talk, believe it or not, I'm gonna talk to, Jane Barati about some things on that, as far as what kind of things we can do. I'm gonna be speaking, yes,
And part of that you want to include is whatever your community currently offers
that's,
services on.
that's what I'm gonna find out, is what we already have, and what, as far as public services. I'm guessing.
Because you don't want to include things that you don't fund or, take care of.
Well, that's what anyway, so. Then I think we'll all work together on that, I'm gonna get a little bit more information, or I can just meet with you on that. Build tension, so maybe I'll just do about
About what,
that, and I need more information about the public services and facilities.
but yeah, you
So
can
I,
reach out to me at any time, I'll be happy to
so is
provide.
that
You
satisfactory,
may call or
everybody? Okay.
email or whatever.
So then, as soon as we have a plan that out, we'll all carefully feedback on that. So, fine? I'm just putting my name on this.
thank you.
Somebody's responsible. Okay. Good.
But no one is in this alone, just remember.
No, no.
So I'll create that folder, probably tomorrow afternoon.
That'd be wonderful.
Great.
Sounds like you have your sign.
I'll have like the brainstorming sheet and then a folder for each category that we can.
We can all contribute to that.
Right, documents,
Yeah.
or we could have, or I can put that brainstorming in each one,
I think that's a good
because
idea.
we have access to all.
Thank you, Darrell.
Okay, so for, when we see you in June, what do you want us to have ready? For you? Give us this.
Actually, if we're doing the open house on the 20th, I need to know what displays you'd like. And if you want me to come up with the language for those
Okay.
and I can do things on 11/17
Okay.
in color. I can do, stuff like that.
Okay,
So, anything you would like me to prepare,
Okay.
for the open house.
okay, so you guys can we'll talk about what we want him to have ready for us, and I'll email you.
Okay.
That.
And can you give us a time frame when we would like to have those things by?
IR meeting. Instead.
Yeah, I mean, let me look at the calendar. If I have at least some ideas, I would like you, it's easier for me to have you respond rather than just come and get the message and then go back and do it, right? So if you could get them to me, before Memorial Day weekend,
Okay,
just the ideas you have
okay.
that you'd like for displays, then I can, that gives me a week or 10 days to work on.
And then on our June meeting.
And the June meeting, I'll,
No.
no, but I'll have some drafts that I want, I need a response.
Yeah.
I don't,
I'm like, what?
they're your,
So,
I wanna
we'll
make sure.
put drafts.
You want, and doesn't include things you don't want.
Thank you. All right, what else do we need to know right now?
I think we're good. I think you guys are have a lot of work ahead of you.
He's like, he's glad. He's glad.
And feel free to please to reach out to me about any questions you may have. Just as, the only advice I would give is you're going through, you're drafting your questions. It's good to give a lot of options, like if you have, but try not to lead them to a conclusion you can't. Okay, try and get the information that you want without going down a path that people will say, I know what you want, just ask that. Okay,
What's your phone number?
did I bring my business
Don't
card?
make him
It's,
sit up. Don't make him sit up.
I will.
I have it.
Is it on your emails?
Cause I actually don't know.
Oh, the one that I have the one that, you know what, they just make me, send you a message though. Is that the one you want us to use?
You can call me on that as my personal phone, but if you do the 435 number,
They don't say out loud, yeah.
yeah. So, if you do the 435 number, that will get to me. You can leave a message, or if I'm there, they'll just.
That's what you prefer. Okay, I'll.
And we also have your email.
Yeah, and your email is, I can respond at any time if you're up in the middle of the night and have this burning questions.
Oh, don't call you? Okay.
Can't is that number you want is at the bottom of the emails.
It does, and I think I'll send it out if anybody else needs it. Larry, yeah?
Yeah, just a quick question, but if we're gonna format questions on our topic, is it? Would I say, do you believe it's a good use of taxpayer money to build a tunnel under the highway to connect the two sides of the town?
If that's something you want to address.
Is that the way we want to frame it though, or is that?
So well, if you have a question about that's in your mind, how to ask it, and you don't know for sure, reach out to me, and I'll help you get some more, so, yeah, and some of the questions may require information, a little paragraph, sentence or two before the question to explain what you're trying to get at.
And multiple choice answers, I think, is
Yeah.
beneficial too, not just.
Right, and the very good, bad, poor, that gives you an easy thing for them to check rather than the 1 to 10, just however you want to do it.
The only other question I have is, and I think you might have mentioned this before, but I need a reminder. Did you get less of a response, or is there a length survey that, and it's kind of like puts people off and you don't know responses, or have you found that yet? What are the parameters for what actually works?
I mean, you did talk about that in your last meeting, a little
We
bit
did,
about the
we did.
length. So what I would suggest is that just put together whatever questions you have, and then you're going to be able to go through and go, let's not ask that, let's ask this. And you'll be able to pare it down naturally.
And survey monkey, you don't know how many questions there are until you're done, right? So you think, oh, I'll take a few minutes and do this, and then.
Right, you want to give people an idea of how long you think it will take.
No,
Because if they think it's gonna take 3 minutes and it takes 20,
they're
partway through, they'll just abandon.
Has anyone ever sent out, like, sections of like maybe a little survey instead, do we do that instead?
You could certainly do that as a follow-up, but the more you send out that stuff,
The harder it is to
the
track
harder it
down.
is to get back. At some point, if you're like me, if I've got something and then I start getting an email asking me a question frequently, I'm just like,
No,
away.
I already-
I thought you might like to know the last time you did this, we got 198 responses.
that's awesome.
And that was in 2015.
That's really awesome.
Virgin residents are very involved with elections
Great.
and, yeah.
It was about 40%.
That's amazing, if we get that, I would be so impressed.
Well, that's a valid survey.
Wow, that's awesome.
If we do, there's only 200 households. 236 households.
Well, I think individuals. Right.
Right.
Like, I can do it, my husband can do
Right.
it. I go by the population.
All right, any last questions for?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Good luck with the rest of your meeting and we'll see you.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
No, he doesn't need to open. We need to, well, if anybody needs a little break, you know,
See.
have a little break and we'll open our meeting in about 3 minutes.
We have, who's gonna be the time?
I was just gonna see if I can pull the time, yes, I'll try them.
And go to classroom screen that.
Oh, thank you.
Where's it not? That's really interesting, huh?
Yes.
Well, unless a rancher doesn't even get inside a closet.
Yeah.
So she sees everything. I just.
Yay.
The quarries. That's funny to watch.
So we have 2 or 3 minutes on that.
We said two.
First, I put 3 on your thing, and I keep asking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've never been down. I've been to like, the other two bar, next year. Try that out.
Are you gonna see that, We'll turn on that. Nice. Oh, I like the traffic light.
I would like to even not.
So you're ready? Good?
I'm good.
But for minutes, you don't want them to see us.
Yeah, you do.
All right, are you guys ready? No, how do I get some stuff, like, yes, we're good. How do I get this? Stop. Just stop it. All right. Tuesday, May 1st at 6:30 PM. We're gonna open the public hearing for planning and zoning commission. Do I need to say what items we're doing?
No, you go ahead and go right into the motion.
Okay, so I need a motion to open the public meeting. No, wait, close it. Wait.
Of the meeting.
Okay, so we just opened the meeting, now let's close it so we can have a public hearing.
I motion to close the public meeting.
And open
Second?
Public hearing. I'll second.
We have a motion to open, to close the public meeting and open the public hearing.
I second.
Yeah, the second, so we'll vote on that.
You did all that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the public hearing. Okay, so we have, 5 items that were up for public hearing, tonight, and, the time is now the public's to, make comments. There's 3 minutes, per topic, per person. Darlene found this cute little timer here, so I'll start that as you go. And we would invite anyone who has, public comment for ordinance number TC/PZ24A, an amendment to sign regulations. An ordinance, I'm revising section 5502 to include grandfathering language for an existing billboard. Any comment? Okay, we will move on to item number 2. Sounds like a game show. Ordinance number PC24E, an ordinance amending residential location standards in residential zones. So this is a residential and rural residential home size restriction. Anyone have any comments on these? Okay. All right, we'll move to item number 3. This is ordinance PZ24M, amending the town's current general plan by adding a transportation section, which will contain the Virgin Master Transportation Plan of August 2023, developed by UDOT with SR9 portions and standards only, as redacted. Any comments on this?
Your voice. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to do this and kind of getting it, so that we'll move forward in an organized manner with some foresight and to try to keep it from being piecemeal. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll move to item number 4, which is TCPZ24J. It's an ordinance replacing chapter 52, sign regulations, the new sign regulation ordinance.
I have a question. Simple as all. Now, I'm not sure if it falls into the first item or this item. But I've noticed a proliferation of signage coming into town, and it's not billboard size. And I'm just wondering, are there gonna be any like constraints on that in the future, or are we just gonna have not billboard size signs everywhere down the street?
So we're not on a public hearing. We have to hear from you. We're not supposed to give answers to anything, but that ordinance, that's exactly what it's about. The one we're talking about. Yeah, and yes, there's many things to prevent such a thing.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yes, thank you. All right, we'll move to item number 5, which is ordinance PZ24C, which is adding revised terms and definitions for transient lodging, chapter, the definitions chapter, revising uses, designations of use, and language in various sections. such as 30, 32, 34, 38, 40, and 44. And it's also deleting a redundant chapter 42.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second it. All in favor?
Are we opening up the public meeting?
Well, we can do it, we're doing it too, I guess, we're doing, continue with it,
Go ahead.
yeah. All in favor?
Yes.
Closing? Now, only motion?
I feel like I told that. Larry, the second.
Yeah, I know. Now I'll take a motion to reopen the public meeting.
I don't know, you can just motion to adjourn.
Oh, we can?
Yeah.
We didn't,
We didn't open the public
We
meeting.
didn't open.
You don't have to,
We don't have to reopen it?
you're already in. Because you just close the public hearing if you're in the public meeting.
I see,
So go
we're in
ahead.
a meeting. Okay, then I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I second.
Second by Dudley. All in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
We forecast it.
That's 7 minutes.